Wow, I even impressed myself. Great to be here. And what I'd like to do tonight is just give you some of the stats and some of the figures and an antidote to newspaper headlines, so that you can anchor your visions and anchor your futures in some real truth about our city. So yes, we were first linked into the outside world with these things called value chains and continental opportunities. You know, when those first ships sailed here over 500 years, and see what we were blessed with in the harbor, and it's still true today. You know, Durban is anchored and linked in our future, is still so much a part of the whole continent and global value chains. So I was so excited to hear when Julia was speaking so much around vision, because that's elements of what I wanted to feed into today as well. To say that we each need to continue to develop that vision for ourselves, our families, our businesses, and our city, and try and trust and look for linkages between all of those things, whether it is about working here, playing here, living here. Ultimately, it is actually all around investing. So the City of Durban, where I work, thank you for paying your rates and taxes. It helps with my kids' school fees. Really appreciate that. Don't go on a rates protest just yet. Still got university I've got to pay for them as well. The City of Durban does have a vision, and some really exciting visions, and they're not just pie in the sky stuff. They're really concrete, well-researched visions. And this, for example, is just one particular part of it. This is our inner city urban core area. To orient you, that's the harbor there. That's the Durban Point, the Golden Mile, up towards Blue Lagoon and the Umgeni River mouth and back towards Warwick. This is an architectural rendering of the inner city urban master plan. The Inner City Urban Master Plan took about 2 years to put together with a number of different stakeholders at a high degree of detail in terms of precinct level, bulk infrastructure, town planning expectations, and so on. And the ultimate vision just of this urban core is to transform it into the Manhattan of the East Coast, into the Manhattan of South Africa, into the Manhattan of Africa. Right now, there's about 70 to 80,000 people who live in that area. This vision will take that to 450,000 people, living in a place which has got green areas, it's got parks, it's got social facilities, high degree of pedestrianization, and even the odd bicycles and elliptigo, Uday, can spin around the city there as well. Taking the inner city working population from about 100,000 people who work down there right now, upwards to 250 and 300,000 people. Not only is it just a vision, it is a vision that's being translated into improved spaces and places with the likes of Urban Lime, Propertuity, Homey, City Life, Anchor Properties, Delta, Vukile, and many others that are investing quite literally tens of billions of rands in that to transform it. I'm surprised, however, how few of us actually know the stats around our province and our city. So do you know that we have about 650 k's of that utterly fantastic skyline? The gent I was sitting next to said during that beautiful sound and music that we live in paradise, man. It's about the size of Portugal, the province of KZN, UNESCO World Heritage Sites and two of the biggest ports on the sub-Saharan African region. But did we know that? If we zoom into the city, the metropolitan city of Durban, that's the little yellow piece of the pie there. Do you know that that's got 100 kilometers of coastline? It's about 2,500 square kilometers, nearly 4 million people in your city. And it's operated at scale through the metropolitan government. So if we make some mistakes, please forgive us. You know, we've got 27,000 employees and we're dealing with nearly 50 billion rand turnover. It's a little bit tough. But it's done at scale and it's done with a lot of passion and excellence by a number of people. And so make no mistake, we are one of South Africa's and Africa's most award-winning metros. That is yellow for a reason, because that's the golden goose that's laying the golden eggs for virtually the entire province. Nearly 2/3 of the provincial output of KZN comes from your city, the Durban metro region. And I like stats because there's also some truth and some lies and some statistics. But the official stats from Stats SA, the most recent ones that came out towards the end of 2018, KZN is the fastest growing province in South Africa economically. The city of Durban is the fastest growing metropolitan city in South Africa economically. So it's not just pie in the sky stuff, it is actually happening. I mentioned the metro government. These are some of the figures around your city. Do you know that your city can stand its own and hold its own on hard-nosed accounting standards and fiscal management standards with pretty much any city on the planet. These are a unique set of bullet points that are not only unique in South Africa, but across the continent and across the world. There's not many cities that can say for nearly 2 decades unqualified audit reports. There's not many cities that can say with a scale of $3.5 billion turnover per annum, one of the best collection rates. So making sure you all pay for your electricity and water, otherwise we're going to switch you off. I'm sorry. I like you, but you got to pay. One of the highest municipal, let's go back one. Do you know that our city has investment-grade credit ratings? I know at a national level we're suffering in terms of the credit ratings. But a nation is comprised of cities, and a city is comprised of people. So the jigsaw puzzle is really strong here, and we can be very proud of it. The city has AA- in the long term, A1+ in the short term, investment-grade credit ratings. So we can bank projects, we can sign contracts, we can pay our bills, we can build the infrastructure, we can fix your potholes. That also goes through to some of the cash on hand. So even if you stop paying, for the first 2 months I won't care. Because I've got 6 billion rand cash on hand. After that I might get a bit nervous. We are, make no mistake, one of the most award-winning cities in South Africa. This is just a small smattering of some of the awards. I have an A4 page with bullet points that Julia can send you with the greatest of pleasure. You've got it there. It's got about 40 odd bullet points of the awards that your city has won just in the last 3-4 years, not since 18 blah, 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 blah. So what are some of those awards? We are one of the 7 wonder cities of the world, according to 2014 ranking. There's a New World Wealth Report. We have the fastest growth rate in dollar millionaires in South Africa. Not the highest absolute number, fully concede, plek van goud, plenty more Ferraris than we've got. But we have the fastest growth rate in millionaires in South Africa for a number of years, and they're projecting that to carry on going forward. New York Times says we're number 7 on the top 52 places to go on the planet. Number 1 is the best place on the planet. Number 52 is, not too bad, kind of cool. We're number 7. Number 7. National Geographic, one of the top 10 coastal metropolitan port cities. Some of the newer ones, British Airways. We we secured them to land here and fly direct with passengers and freight. They release at the end of 2018 last year to their 50 million plus passenger base and subscriber base, a must-see destinations list. They put Durban number 1 on their list of must-see destinations for this year, 2019. Knight Frank, it's a global residential company. They do a residential cities index. For the accountants in the room, like me, I'm only half an accountant. Hallelujah, it's purely based on return on investment, none of this marketing fuzzy-wuzzy kumbaya stuff. It's hard-nosed return on capital investment. When this particular index came out towards the end of 2017, we were the only city in South Africa showing double-digit return on investment rates for residential investment. Number 1 in South Africa, number 1 in Africa, and position 26 on the global top 50 cities list for residential return on investment indices. So this is a good place to keep your money. Don't run to Australia just yet. Global sourcing, BPS, business process outsourcers, business process servicing, contact centers. South Africa ranked by the Global Association as the best spot on the planet for contact centers. Why is it important for Durban? Durban has the largest international contact center in South Africa here, CCI. If you've ever been in Douglas Saunders Park, turn away from Gateway, save your money. Look north, CCI. You'll see the second building coming up there. They are about to become the largest commercial employer in Durban. It's British controlled, British investors. They'll have 12,000 employees. To give you some sense of perspective, Toyota Manufacturing employ about 7,500 employees and FNB about 2,500. They're going to go in excess of 12,000 people. And TomTom Traffic Index. Why is that important? Well, because my wife has got to drop the kids off at school in the morning, and I'm going to use the same line. Sorry, my sweet. Happy wife, happy life. So if she's not stuck in traffic, all things are good. Equally important for the wheels of commerce and industry. For Tongaat Hewlett's trucks to move, they cannot be blocked in traffic. For City Courier's trucks to move, and that's the largest private logistics company in South Africa, headquartered in Durban, with over 1,000 vehicles transporting around, it's important that the wheels can move here. We are South Africa's least congested metro city. Moving along. Financial Times Group. Financial Times says that the city of Durban is #1 on the African continent for outperforming the 2012 FDI levels, foreign direct investment levels as at 2012 to now. #1 on the African continent, your city. The rest of it we share with the greater part of South Africa. Mzansi is a good place, so we've got to share a little bit. Best business friendliness country, best economic potential, best overall country according to the Financial Times Group. And they are influential, make no mistake. I'm going to concede now that I know this is like drinking from a fire hose and I'm shoving stats and names and things down your throat, so I hope you remember some of them. Sorry if your eyes are popping out. A.T. Kearney, a global consulting group, they do a CEO's index globally, asking CEOs, where do you have confidence to invest? They only do the top 25 countries. If you're number 26, sorry, you don't make it on their list. Even during the tough times, before the change, South Africa was still in the top 25 CEO's Confidence FDI Index. And this is why we have a number of companies, from global companies to homegrown giants, that continue to call this place home and maintain and expand their presences here. Coming into land shortly now. If you remember nothing else about my presentation tonight, about my discussion tonight, I would like to empower you to speak with structure and confidence about your city. When you're speaking to friends across the braai, don't descend into this commission or that commission or this thug or this thief. Rather, shift the atmosphere, because this is your home. This is where you hope your children to stay. This is where you hope your grandchildren to grow up. So I'd like to empower you with an acronym which describes the 7 competitive and comparative advantages of your city. All hits. So if you remember nothing else, keep all hits in your head. I hope I've started to demonstrate we are one of South Africa's and the continent's most award-winning cities. Our niche is we have a unique lifestyle of business and pleasure in combination together. Egoli, business capital, will always be for a long time. God bless them. That other place down the south with the flat rock and the lovely red juice, awesome place. I'm glad we've got some people who've decided to relocate from that wonderful place. I confess I'm going there on holiday next month. So that may be the social capital, outdoor lifestyle, etc. Our niche is the best combination of those two things in one city. That equals lower staff turnover levels. That equals higher productivity levels. That equals lower staff training costs, etc., etc. Larger human resource pools. KZN is the 2nd largest province in South Africa, population-wise, and those are assets. I say again, you are assets. People are assets. They're not just costs. They're not just social pain. Some of the fastest skills development taking place in that human resource pool. The University of KwaZulu-Natal is the 2nd largest direct contact university on the continent. Only UJ is bigger. Higher economic growth rates, infrastructure leadership, tourism crown, and yes, we may be a secondary city, but we are still substantial and quite sustainable across the different sectors. So keep all hits in your head and speak with structure and confidence about your city. We like to play here. I won't give you the whole tourism presentation. We have wonderful culture, some of the brightest colors of the rainbow nation. Whether you're German or British or Zulu or Chinese or Indian, this is the home of the rainbow nation. So let's appropriate each other's culture and adopt it and make it all our own and celebrate each other's culture. You guys are all residents. You know about the Berg, the beach, the bush, the attractions, hospitality, events. Just a little stat on events. Do you know that that Midmar Mile is the largest open water swim on the planet and the oldest and biggest open water swim on the planet in the Midmar Mile events? Attracts people from around the world. My particular day job is working through investments. So on our dashboard, we've got 70 to 80 flagship projects. It's a pipeline of investments that, hold on to your hat, is starting to approach R1 trillion worth of investments taking place. Afika's delivering several of them, and he'll come and tell you about some of those shortly. People are investing. People are investing, and sadly, a lot of them are international investors seeing the opportunities more so than the local ones. So it's beautiful to hear about Murray and Gerard and the others who are continuing to drive that vision and see the opportunities and look over the warts and pimples and scrapes and cuts and take a medium-term strategic view and rather fix those things. So there's a huge pipeline of investment taking place in the city. They're cut up into catalytic projects. I'm sorry, I'm running out of time, so I'll breeze through this. We've cut our catalytic projects into A, B, and C, attaching teams to them to help deliver a number of these. One of them is an enormous transport plan called Go Durban. It's a 5 billion rand project, and I'll switch to rands for a second and say we're already 5 to 6 billion rand in the ground with 2 of the 9 corridors. C2 is a rail one from the CBD out to Bridge City, Inanda, KwaMashu into Zuma. Sorry, C2. C3 is from Pinetown going down that way. When all of this is done, it will provide a much higher quality of transport for all of us to choose instead of taking our car. You'll be within 500 meters of a walking station. That'll cover about 85% of Durban's residential population. Dubai Trade Port, another one of the catalytic projects, huge, huge things. We've got enormous manufacturers, massive brands. Samsung's the one I can tell you because it's up and running, but very similar ones coming to do manufacturing and warehousing in these spaces. Wonderful airport. It's winning global awards, Skytrax awards for what they're doing there. Category B, again, sorry, I'm running out of time. $2.5 billion in a number of Category B catalytic project investments. And the last one, Category C, Beverly Hills Extension, Soko Sun, Oceans, and a number of others coming out the ground. So I would like to encourage you to build what you're doing tonight. Build those development partnerships, whether it's the Chamber of Commerce or whether it's your industry body or whether it's national bodies like South African Property Owners Association. Build those partnerships for growth. It's a key thread to Durban. We are a relational city. We're not a transactional city. So build those partnerships. Leverage off of some of the existing partnerships because there are a lot of different opportunities, whether that's in manufacturing, services, property development, agri-processing, consulting, R&D, innovation, localization, and many, many more. So please, if I can encourage you to say, God bless Africa, because he has already, and without you, we're all going to be in trouble. So Nkosi Sikelele, Africa. Thank you.